Ned's sword ice was a great sword, so it was already huge.
Well, it was used
remnant
for like
from the
beheadings
Age of
and
Heroes.
shit.
It was the Stark, family sword, and yeah, they used it for beheadings and all kinds of battles. It was Valyrian Steel.
Hundreds of years
And then
old.
Tywin, when they killed Ned Stark, they took his sword, and Tywin had it reforged because only a few people know how to reforge Valyrian Steel, and he had it forged into two swords, like a regular
So
size.
what happens to those swords?
Well, Tywin gifts one to
Joffrey.
Joffrey, and we don't really know what happens to that one.
Brienne has the other one.
Jaime gets the other sword, but he only has one hand now, so he knows he can't even really wield it. And he, in order to honor his vow to Catelyn Stark to return her children to her, he sends Brienne on the quest with Ned Stark's sword. So he says, "You think of it this way: you'll be defending Ned's children with his own sword." And he gives her the other sword. So don't know what happens to Joffrey's, but Brienne has the other sword.
Okay.
And I think
thought
that
it
they
would've
will
been-
eventually find their way back into Stark hands.
So it was going to be Jon and Arya because one's smaller than the other. One was made for Joffrey.
Yes,
I think
one
it's
one
slightly
was a little
smaller.
bit smaller because
just
they only
thought
had enough for two. And then
would've made
Tyrion's like,
sense.
"You didn't even make a dagger for me." And then Tywin's like, "If you need armaments, you can go to the armory." He's great in the audiobooks. Tywin's voice is
Roy,
great.
don't chase.
Tyrion. But in the show, Longclaw, which was the Mormon sword, pretty much just
Yeah.
becomes the new Stark sword.
They change
I
it
guess.
from the bear to the wolf, right?
Yeah,
Change
yeah.
the pommel.
Yeah, they changed the pommel. I think Jon's story is that he's supposed to get the Sword of the Morning, Dawn, which is the Sword of the Morning sword,
Yeah.
because that's actually forged from a comet that fell out of the sky in an area in Dorne, which they ended up making a house called Starfall. They made a city around it, which is where the Danes are from. And they used that comet. They forged it into a sword, the Sword of the Morning.
That also has abilities.
It
against the
has,
White Walkers.
so they said it
Some
has
properties.
similar properties to Valyrian Steel in that it's incredibly lightweight and incredibly sharp, but it's white instead of black,
Oh, interesting.
like Valyrian Steel is. I think Valyrian Steel is just obsidian and mixed in with steel and blood magic, because obsidian in Game of Thrones has special properties. They call it dragon glass, but it's obsidian. It's super sharp, it's super lightweight, but it's brittle. And if you mix that with steel or
like
iron,
ground it into like some kind of powder and
melt it,
worked
maybe
and
with
smelt it into-
dragon fire, because when you look at Valyrian Steel, it's rippled. That's like a characteristic of it. It's almost like Damascus steel, where it's like it's rippled from being folded over and pounded thousands of times.